Hi friends! Today I decided to record another video that I think is really important because I work with a lot of clients who have kids and kids different ages, and a lot of them are struggling, and I'm sure you are struggling because kids in 21st century, you can tell they're very different from us, the way we were brought up. When we were brought up, we were very happy sometimes having just one or two toys, and we were getting attached to that toy and playing with that toy, creating the relationship with that toy. And now you see kids who are all the time on the computers, on the gadgets, playing on the phone, or um, other robotics, and they're very hyper, they're very anxious, and they're very different from us. There, with that comes a lot of good and something that is not so good. The good part about the kids in the 21st century, they're they're learning fast. They catching up to things really fast. They're very creative. They're quick learners, and they don't have patience for explanations. They don't need you to explain them for 2 or 3 minutes how to do things. They catch up to things really fast. But at the same time, uh, the cartoons that they're exposed to, that we see on the TV, whether it's Lego City or Masha and the Bear, it's a hyper cartoons. There's a lot of movement. Um, there's a lot of violence, and so the kids are not very in tune with their emotions of empathy and compassion. But also, empathy and compassion comes from love and from home, and mainly from mom and dad. And so, again, my clients are trying to raise their kids um, based on one model. But there's 4 different types of children, and this is their natural talents and gifts that are given from above. And so we don't choose our children. And if we're trying to teach them by the same model, we're actually breaking their nature. What I mean by that, let's say hypothetically, your child is born as an athlete, and you're trying to make them a businessman, or a teacher, or a doctor, or an attorney. And from the young age, you're trying to spend lots of time, money, and energy educating him. But this is not his true nature. His true nature is that he's really strong, and he will be a really great athlete. And it will be great if you can put your child, if this is his nature, into a lot of athletics memberships and sports and clubs, so he can spend energy learning something that he's truly passionate about. But again, what my purpose today is to go over 4 different types of children. And the first type of children, teachers. These kids are extremely smart, patient, and they love learning. One of my girlfriends has this type of child, and I remember when I met her daughter, Adelina, she was only 2 years old, and my son was 2 years old. But she was telling me how she can count to 30 in Russian and English. She knew alphabet in Russian and English, and she started to learn how to read at age 2. I thought, this is impossible. How can this be possible, right? But at the same time, I remember the model of 4 different types of children. And she is a future teacher. There's only 1% of this type of children. They're like geniuses. They love learning, they're very patient, and they're very humble and easy. Whoever has those type of children, you guys are very lucky. Enjoy and invest a lot of time into their education, because they will be responsible when they grow up to educate other people, meaning they will be responsible, bringing their education, their awareness, their consciousness higher. And so it's going to be their job. And so the more you can invest into their education and sending them to universities, they would love to, they'll be grateful for that. And it will be very easy for them because they're naturally born teachers. Also, this type of kids like to invent things. This type of children were Albert Einstein, and people who invented airplanes and cars and etc. You get the idea. The second type of children are leaders. They're naturally born leaders. And by the way, talking about children, you can clearly see the sign of which type they are very early. But until 12, they're trying different things. So you can see different distinctions in them. But you still can clearly see what they are, because now when we're going to talk about leaders, they're the stubborn, most stubborn of all. Leaders will constantly resist to your parenting. They will resist education. They will resist everything. They're stubborn. They know it all. And they're the most difficult to raise. Parents of this type of children, most of the time, are exhausted. I'm one of them. I have one downstairs right now playing with dad, and I take extra time to be patient and spend quality time with him. And the moment I raise my voice a little bit because I get exhausted, he immediately starts battling me. So they're future leaders, they're future warriors, and they're typically 5% of those children. And you also got to invest a lot of time, energy, and money educating those kids. Now, with this type of children, it's easier to break them. Because sometimes, I remember as a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old and a 5, now he's 6, he would constantly tell me, "No, Mom, no, I don't want to do this." Sometimes I feel like I just want to grab him and make him do things. And I'm so grateful that I know I have enough education to know that if I'm gonna start breaking him, what's gonna happen is that he's gonna grow up being someone like Hitler or Stalin, or someone who will be someone like a dictator. And so we are really responsible for education and parenting all children, but especially the leaders, because they are really difficult. And I will be really, really honest with you. On the days when I don't meditate in the morning at 2 or 3 p.m., I start snapping on him, because it's difficult to be with the child who constantly tells me no, no, and no. And unless I have this feminine energy and I come from the space of patience, calm, and love, he resists. And when I ask him and I say, "Honey, how about right now we're gonna study for 45 minutes, and then we're gonna play for 30 minutes, and then we're gonna study again for 45 minutes, and then we're gonna play again Lego. And then after that, we're gonna read for 15 minutes. And after that, we're gonna play, I forgot the name of the game that he likes, where we shoot each other all the time. Nerf guns." And so I negotiate with him, but being very calm, very loving, and so he feels like he's in control and knows his schedule. And so, just giving you a heads up, if you're moms and you are homeschooling your child, and by the way, with these two types of children, teachers and leaders, it's best if you educate them at home. Because imagine if leaders are in a public school system and they constantly say no, and teachers not gonna like them, their self-esteem gonna be really hurt. And so you're gonna do the biggest contribution to him and his life, or her and her life, if you can invest into his education. And again, know that no one can be best at education and teach your child like you do. And I know this is another topic. A lot of parents feel like the job is more important and it's hard to be a teacher, and it is really hard. I do agree. But with leaders, with the rest, with teachers, it would be easy. But it's also very rewarding. As I am doing my work, waking up and doing the meditation and setting my day into being a mom and then a therapist, I take from above the energy of love and contribution, and then it's easy to give. If I wouldn't be meditating in the morning, I probably wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing on a daily basis with my 6-year-old. And again, he's precious. I love him, and I get so much out of being a mom and homeschooling. But I agree, it's not the easiest job. Then the third type of children are businessmen. And how can you tell that they're businessmen? One of my girlfriends has this child. He's 7 years old. And when I come over to her house, her son would say, okay, if I'll give you this toy, what will you give me in return? You can give me another toy, or you can give me $5. So he's constantly negotiating. So you can obviously tell that if your child constantly negotiates, and if the money is also involved in it, these are future businessmen. They're going to be good in business. They will always have money. And those kids, unless you give them something in return, they will not be interested to learn. But if you tell them, how about you do the homework and I'll buy you this toy? Or how about you do the homework assignment and help me to clean? I'll give you $10. Typically, I would say with any other children, it's not good to give them money for something that they do. But with this type of children, that's the only way to do it. But I will always suggest, try to negotiate with toys or playtime or whatever that they like. And the last resort, giving them money. But again, these are the businessmen. They are always looking for the opportunity, and if they see that they will get something from it, they will be interested. And of course, your goal as a parent to get them interested in learning and educating. And the fourth type of children, these are helpers. Helpers who do things with hands, especially. These are your future painters, carpenters, electrical engineers, mechanics, even dentists, because they work with hands. They could be also athletes and singers, but you can tell if they are really strong and ready to help, and they're good with their hands. These type of children, again, the example of these children would be, what comes in mind is one of my parents who is a doctor. And she came to me and she said, Alisa, I tried everything with my daughter and my son. She had 2 kids, 15 and 16-year-old. They just don't like to study. What can I do? And the more she was sharing about her daughter and her son, the quickly I realized no matter how much she wanted to invest into educating them so they can go to medical school or law school, they were not interested, because these are future carpenters or dentists or mechanical engineers, because one was really interested to build things, her daughter, with hands, uh, designing the furniture, doing things with wood, and her son was interested in running, playing sports, and he was hyper. And I remember when her son was younger, she would call me. She said, Alisa, how can I calm him down? And I said, it's impossible. The best way to do is count to 20 and tell him, how fast can you run from this house to another house and then back, and counting. And after 30 or 40 times, he will release his energy. He would come down, and then she could breathe and her son could breathe, because again, kids with so much energy, these are future athletes, you got to make them work. And the best way, again, create the kind of a game, count and say, how fast can you do things? How fast can you go around the house? How fast can you dig this hole? How fast can you run over the bridge and come back? And I'll be counting. And you can count loud or pretend that you're counting, as you see them coming back, start counting 20, 25, or 26, right? And so unfortunately, her children were not born to be doctors or attorneys. And the moment parents will realize that their kids have this nature that they were born to be either a teacher or a leader or a businessman or the carpenter or the athlete, the sooner the child will feel that they accept it and they will be happy, and you as a parent will be happy. And with children on this fourth type who are helpers or athletes, it's best not to send them to university actually, but to a specialty college where they will be learning their craft. But obviously, if they wanted to be a football players and you have to send them to special university in order for them to play in that team, you can do that. But again, remember not to pressure them into learning and getting good grades, because that's not their nature. They'll be good in a soccer field, in a football field, because that's what they're born to do. And her daughter, once she fully accepted that's who her daughter is, she sent her to a college a few years later, and now she's really good at crafting the furniture, and she already made the name in the community, and a lot of designers come to her so she can create the special tables and recliners and special chairs, and she has now her own gallery with the furniture. So with that said, I want to thank you for listening to this video. And the more you can invest time and energy educating yourself as a parent, the more you will understand your child and you will be a better parent. Because again, a lot of parents now want to have a convenient children, but children are born in order for us to shift from being egocentric and selfish in order to give. Because one way of being for a woman, just being a woman, and then she's fully concentrated on herself. The second way of being a wife, where she can give some of herself, but a lot of herself she will be also preserved. But once you're a mother, you learn to give and give unconditionally. And that's why our children here, for us to learn how to give unconditionally, how to love them. And the children are here for us to, first of all, to teach us. And they could be either our greatest friends later in life or our worst enemies. Because if you're gonna torture them by making them do something that they're not meant to do, and they don't have talent or gift for that, later they will do everything to resist you and not to have close relationship with you. So everything you do now will pay off at the end. So I want to really thank you and acknowledge you for your patience, because it takes something to be a parent. And the more you're going to invest into educating yourself, you will be a better parent and closer to your wonderful children. They come from God. They are our gift. And If you can say that to them on a daily basis, how much you love them and how much they mean to you, they will remember that. On the next video, I will be telling you different developments of children, what's important to them from 0 to 1, from 1 to 2, from 2 to 3, then 3 to 5, and etc. So you can learn what are some really important stages and why they act the way they act at 3, and then at 5, and then as they are shifting to being teenagers, so you can understand them better. Because there's certain things that you can miss, and then you won't be able to catch up to it even 5 or 10 years later. So it's going to be a very, very important video that I would strongly for you recommend to listen. And with that said, please ask me questions. I'll be happy to answer them. And that also helps me to understand you. What are your needs? What is interesting for you to learn, so I can record even more videos. Thank you, and I wish you all love, happiness. Namaste.